was I going to say? I want to thank my teacher. She's in Japan, Gyōzan Royce. I want to thank you for your continuous support and practice. And thank you, this great assembly, for your never ceasing practice. So before we get started, I just want to know how many Zen students would it take to bring down a 600-pound Eastern lowland gorilla? It's been top of mind. Well, we'll circle back to that. So this is a continuation of this fascicle called Gyōji, or continuous practice. And some of you may have heard Leo's excellent talk last Sunday when he explored part 1 of Gyōji. And this talk ended up being sort of a blend of part 1 and part 2. I was trying to cut down on the repetition, so it might be a little short talk too. But, so in part 2 of Gyōji, Dogen again turns to the early Zen ancestors and exemplifies their continuous practice. Dogen states, "Your ability to see and hear Dharma right now is the result of the compassionate, continuous practice of each Buddha ancestor." So in this part 2, starting with the first Zen ancestor, Dogen offers his deep gratitude to Bodhidharma, who embarked on the perilous 3-year journey from India to China to manifest the Buddha Dharma to those sentient beings. Says Dogen, this continuous practice is due solely to his great compassionate determination to transmit Dharma and save deluded beings. He goes on to say that no one in China had met a Buddha before Bodhidharma appeared. In some texts, Bodhidharma is considered to be an incarnation of the Bodhisattva of great compassion, Avalokiteshvara. Bodhidharma bestows this great compassion more by liberated example than by responding directly to the individual needs and suffering. This can be seen as tough love or fierce compassion, as evident in his encounter with Emperor Wu. This encounter appears in case 2 of the Book of Serenity. When the emperor met with Bodhidharma, he asked him what merit he would receive for all the good works he had done, such as building monasteries and translating sutras. Bodhidharma replied, "No merit." Emperor Wu then asked, "What is the highest meaning of the sacred truth?" Bodhidharma said, "Vast emptiness, nothing holy." Emperor Wu then demanded to know who stood before him now. Bodhidharma replied, "I don't know." At that, Bodhidharma left to sit in a cave for 9 years. And this 9 years of sitting is celebrated to this day. Indeed, the compassionate, continuous practice of Bodhidharma has inspired the strenuous efforts of sincere practitioners for nearly 1,500 years. And for that, Dogen says we must be profoundly grateful for Bodhidharma's continuous practice. Dogen continues to express his deep reverence and profound admiration for the continuous practice of the early Zen ancestors, lauding their fearlessness, their asceticism, and their unshakable tenacity. While Bodhidharma's words were lost on Emperor Wu, his expressing the Buddha Dharma was recognized by a monk who found Bodhidharma's cave. The monk was called Huike. Huike hiked into the freezing mountains in search of this cave and endured freezing temperatures. Dogen said it was a horrendous season when bamboo cracked. Finally, Huike reached Bodhidharma's dwelling, but was not allowed to enter. Bodhidharma did not turn around. All through the night, Huike did not sleep, sit, or rest. And by dawn, the snow had buried him up to his waist, and his tears froze on his face. Acknowledging Hueca's determination, Bodhidharma asked, "What do you seek? Why have you stood in the snow for so long?" Shedding more tears, Hueca said, "All I wish is that you compassionately open the gate of sweet dew in order to awaken many beings." Bodhidharma said, "The unsurpassable, inconceivable way of all Buddhas must be practiced hard and consistently for vast kalpas. You must bear what is unbearable." And he goes on to caution, "But if you wish for small virtue, small wisdom, and a casual, arrogant mind for the true vehicle, you will toil in vain." Encouraged by these words, Hueca then used, this is like a, what do you call it, child warning or something. Encouraged by these words, Hueca then used a sharp knife to cut off his left arm and offered it to Bodhidharma. Seeing his determination, Hueca was then invited to enter Bodhidharma's inner chamber and became his attendant for the next 8 years. This is the continuous practice of Hueca, the second Zen ancestor. Dogen then points to Zen ancestor Shitao, also known as Akito Kisen, in his practice of sitting zazen on top of a large rock, not sleeping day or night. Next, there's the continuous practice of Daoshin, also known as Kanchi Sosan in Japanese, who was fearless and willing to be beheaded by Emperor Tai for repeatedly snubbing the emperor's invitation to come to the capital. Emperor Tai was so impressed by Daoshin's willingness to die that he spared his life and even gifted him with rare silks. And so the fascicle Gyoji Part 2 continues in this way, with Dogen paying homage, reverence, and deep gratitude to the continuous practice of the Zen ancestors, including Wansha, Fuyo Dogai, Matsu, and the sixth ancestor, Huineng, and finally his root teacher, Rujing. So are these stories about the Zen ancestors, Gyoji, made to inspire us or make us feel like we're falling very short in our efforts? Personally, I take these exploits with a grain of salt, lots of grains actually. For example, I think that a more realistic scenario of Bodhidharma and Hueca's encounter went like this. Bodhidharma recoiled in horror at the sight of Hueca offering him his amputated arm. And shortly thereafter, Hueca collapsed and bled to death on the cave floor. That was Hueca's continuous practice. And where was Bodhidharma's compassion? The story says nothing of him using a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. So before I run off into the mountains and sit zazen day and night, never sleeping and eating nothing but pine cones, I think it's best if we examine what continuous practice is or isn't. So how should I view and work with this ideal of Gyoji? Is it an ideal? Are these phrases of any use? Unrelenting practice, all-pervading practice, unceasing practice, uninterrupted practice, unimpeded practice. Or how about undivided practice? That one kind of resonates. Undivided practice, practice that doesn't divide, but rather practice that makes whole. Continuous practice, Gyoji, encompasses and extends far beyond the activities of formal sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. Gyoji includes reading, sutras, bowing, chanting the Buddha's name, and goes beyond all of that. Gyoji is our life. Continuous practice is our life. Our lives are this continuous practice. This moment of being alive is continuous practice. Consider this body and this breath right now. They sustain and intimately make practice possible. Feel your heartbeat and your breath as they effortlessly support this continuous practice. Dogen asserts the following: because of this practice, there are the sun, the moon, and the stars. Because of this practice, there are the great earth and the open sky. Because of this practice, there are body, mind, and their environs, the human world. Because of this practice, there are the four great elements and the five skandhas. This is what Leo shared with us last Sunday also. Continuous practice is not necessarily something people in the world love, but it should be the true place of return for everyone. Because of the continuous practice of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, all Buddhas of the past, present, and future are actualized. So I find this inspiring. The sun, the moon, and the stars depend on our continuous practice. Dogen says continuous practice is unstained, undivided, and not limited physically or conceptually, and yet fully expressed by the physical and conceptual world, not limited by being physically or conceptually. So Dogen is saying that it's not that there is a causal connection in a conventional way between our zazen and the sun and moon and stars staying up in the sky. The sun, moon, and the stars are already themselves continuous practice. This great round of being is already a continuous practice. Whether we practice zazen or not, continuous practice continues. Dogen says continuous practice that actualizes itself is no other than your continuous practice right now. The now of this practice is not originally possessed by the self. The now of this practice does not come and go, enter and depart. Even the word now does not exist before continuous practice. The moment when it is actualized is called now. In other words, I think what he's saying is there's only continuous practice. We call this moment now. This being so, your continuous practice of this day is a seed for all Buddhas and the practice of all Buddhas. All Buddhas are actualized and sustained by your continuous practice. So what really matters is the continuous practice that is happening right now in your life. It's all very simple and concrete, and yet conceptually it's ungraspable. So let's see if we can, in this moment, step back from my words and Dogen's words and just enter into the next breath, the next inhale and exhale. The moment of the presence of being alive, the next moment of continuous practice. Norman Fisher adds, so that's all there is to it. It's not a big deal, but at the same time, you cannot understand it. It's as concrete as your body and your breath. There's no past, there's no future. Dogen is simply saying that there is only continuous practice. Continuous practice is the expression of the Dharma right now. It's the embodiment of the Buddha Dharma right now. Continuous practice is the totality of our lived experience in this moment. We can't start or stop it in the same way that we can't pause or interrupt suchness. And we can't hinder enlightenment. It is constantly flowing, and we are always part of this flow of reality. Dogen says that even if you might try to ignore continuous practice, to hide a crooked intention and escape from it, this ignoring would also be continuous practice. So great, no further effort needed. This practice continues regardless of what I do or don't do, except that while ignoring, escaping, or evading is a continuous practice, such a practice will produce certain karmic results. I think of greed, aversion, delusion, craving, and clinging in any and all of their manifestations. And back up. I can choose this karmically driven life, and I also have the choice or aspiration to live deliberately, to live intentionally. This is the examined life. And until I have thoroughly and completely realized and actualized this great matter, I choose the latter. And we have support to help us in this way of practice. We have a Zen Center intentionally built to facilitate this continuous practice. We have the grounding practices of our forms and ceremonies. We recite and renew the precepts. We return to the rootedness of Zazen. And of course, we have each other to turn to and learn from. We have the Sangha. We can do this continuous practice for ourselves at first. Then after some time, we practice with each other. And then, understanding that continuous practice is broadly beneficial, we can practice for each other. Dogen's last point in Goji Part 2, he touches on the importance of practicing with a teacher. He exhorts us to study with a teacher. He wants us to recognize and remember how precious and important this is. And how rare and precious it is to study with a teacher. And Dogen does acknowledge that it could be actually hard to find someone you could even practice with. I think one aspect of working with a teacher or even teachers is circumstantial. There's the old saying that when you're ready for a teacher, one appears. I don't necessarily believe that's always true. While Dogen is talking about a classical formal teacher-student relationship, there are many sources and conditions of learning available. What we are presently working with can, in fact, be our teacher at that moment. If your life includes conditions that lead you to connecting with a teacher, as Dogen says, that is wonderful and auspicious. The teacher and the teaching can manifest in myriad forms when we are attentive and open to what's before us. Dogen has much to say about Zen practice and student-teacher practice, which is continuous practice. And as the season of the Shobo Genzo flows on, I hope we receive these teachings, embrace them, and actualize them. Thank you.